Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is the next video in the series JUZ Gems, and this is JUZ 10. Like I always say, please read the notes and please read the JUZ. Now, this JUZ consists of the rest of Surah 8 and the beginning of Surah 9, Surah Tawbah. And what I would first like to say is that this JUZ, it's in the context of war. So the things that you do read in this JUZ, it's not talking about go out tomorrow and go out and start just killing disbelievers and just start blowing them up and all. No, this honestly, that whole idea is not even consistent with Islam itself. And so if you do get a non-Muslim or somebody who wants to fight against this, somebody who wants to say something against Islam, they usually bring up Surah 8 or Surah 9 and say, look how evil Islam is, look how dangerous it is. But this is in the context of war, and this is when the believers were in war. So yes, that's something to key in on. And so I'm going to begin. So from verses 41 through 46, Allah speaks of the war booty and how the first thing Allah mentions is that they ask you what is going to be the prize for war, prize for war, and Allah speaks of that 1/5 is to Allah, Muhammad, the near relatives, orphans, the poor. And then like I said, I'm going to go on. It's going to be a little faster than normal. Okay, and then from verses 47 through 63, Allah says within these verses that Allah will not change the grace on a people until they change what's in themselves. And so all this stuff that's happening in Syria, Libya, I guess you could say Egypt, Sudan, Somalia, Burma, all of this, Allah will not change the conditions of the Muslims unless they change what's in themselves. So Allah's not going to go and help Syria and Burma and this place and that place unless we change what's in ourselves, unless we become united as a Muslim ummah and actually help ourselves before Allah can help us. And then from verses 64 through 65, Allah speaks of, which is very connected to the verse I just picked earlier, which is verse 53. On verse 73, which is between 64 and 65, Allah says that if the believers do not become united, there will be fitna, oppression, great mischief, and corruption amongst the people. And cough, cough, look at today. Today we're so divided. And remember a couple of juzzes before, we talked about how Allah said those who divide, don't even concern yourself with them. Allah will deal with them, and Allah would tell them what was right and what was wrong amongst what they differed. Now but this right here, this whole disunity, is really what's causing all of this to happen, because we're not united as an ummah. Either, oh, I do this and you do that, so we can't be friends. I believe that if you don't wear, I know I always bring this up, I believe that if you don't wear socks, you're not going to heaven, therefore I can't talk to you because you don't wear socks. So then we separate on not wearing socks, and then we can go on to where we'll even side with the disbelievers because we just don't like you because you don't wear socks. When at the end of the day, the bond between a Muslim is way more, it's greater than even the bond between blood, except when it comes to inheritance, which Allah does mention on the last verse of Surah 8. And so, until we become united and until we fix what's in ourselves, nothing's gonna change, people. So honestly, all these petty little things, oh, I don't like you because you wear hijab differently. Come on. And if they're following what Allah says and they're following what the Prophet ﷺ did and said, then we're cool. Okay? People are gonna disagree. People disagreed in the Prophet's time. But today we take it to the extreme where we won't even talk to them, we'll be against them, and it even comes to the point where you'll kill them. Because this is what they're doing overseas. They're killing other Muslims. And that's just gross, to be honest. And I'm just going to stop there because I don't want to be mad. And then after this, in verses... Uh-oh. Did I get lost? And then after this, this surah ends. And then begins Surah Tawbah from verses 1 through 16. Again, in the context of war. Allah tells, it's in the context of war, and then Allah also mentions oaths. And I noticed that this is mentioned a lot. So keeping your oaths is very important in Islam. And then in verses 17 through 22, Allah talks about how He does not guide the Zalimun. And then from 23 to 27, Allah says that if the dunya is dearest to you, then let Allah bring on His decision. So honestly, guys, this dunya, I mean, dude, it's nothing. You'll be alive like 80 years here, but then, like, if you go to somebody's gravestone, it's like, oh, they died in let's say they lived only 20 years and they died, let's say, oh my God, I have to do math. Okay, let's say they died in 1980. They were dead longer than more than they're alive. And so this place doesn't last that long at all. And then from verses 28 to 35, Allah talks about how the disbelievers want to put out the light of Allah, but honestly, it's Allah. Good luck with that. In verses 36 through 52, Allah speaks of that. This is something else really important to take note of, that Allah can easily replace us with another people. Allah doesn't need us, people. So us going around acting like Allah needs us, we're doing something for Allah, Allah can easily replace us. And so those who disbelieve and those who go against the Prophet ﷺ and go against Allah, Allah can replace you. With a snap of a finger, you can be gone. It's not that hard. And honestly, in the next verses, this is exactly what I'm speaking of. In verses, well, these aren't the next verses. From verses 53 to 72, Allah speaks of and says, "Do you not remember those before you? What happened to those before you? They were destroyed. And you know what, another thing to key in on about those before you? They were better than us. They had when it comes to children, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to abundance, they were way better than us. These people used to carve their houses out of mountains. Our houses are made out of brick, and they're easily destroyed by a freaking tornado. So I mean, okay, that wasn't a good example, but obviously, mountain, brick, I don't know, really, really tall, short. I mean, they're way, way better than us. Even if you look at like a couple of centuries ago, not even centuries. Today, at least here in America, our money's not even backed by gold. We just have a bunch of paper flying around. These people, they would have gold and actually things that were worth something. We have paper and we say it's worth something. And so I mean, come on. And what happened to these people? They're way better than us. They were destroyed. And so it's not that hard for Allah to just wipe you out. And so okay, that sounded really evil, but it's the truth. I mean, come on. If I was um if my mom told me, "Hey, don't eat that cookie," and I just keep eating it and eating it and eating it and eating it and eating it over and over every day, and not so much eating it to the point where I'm eating hundreds of cookies every day, and my mom said, "Don't eat the cookie." And then when she asked me, "Did you eat the cookie?" I'm like, "No, I didn't eat the cookie." And then she says, "Didn't I tell you not to eat the cookie?" And then I say, "No, you never told me." I mean, my mom would eventually get angry, right? But Allah's merciful. It's not like Allah destroyed these people like, "Oh, you didn't believe for 1 year, so I destroyed you." No. Remember that Noah, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, hundreds. So if anyone tells me anything about Noah, that was wrong for God to destroy them. If I told you that a tornado was coming, let's say for 10 years I told you there's a tornado coming, it's coming in 10 years on this exact date, get in my car. If you do not get in my car, you're gonna die. Now whose fault is that if you don't get in my car? Yours. And so therefore, small tangent, but I had to say that because somebody told me that it was not merciful or whatever. Hundreds and hundreds of years telling you that if you don't get into my boat, you are going to die. Like, come on, that's purely, purely, purely your fault. And so then Allah says that even if this is from verses 73 to 93, even if you ask for forgiveness for them, countless times, Allah will not forgive them. And you want to know why? Because if you don't ask for forgiveness, um, somebody else's forgiveness is not going to replace the fact that you never asked for forgiveness. And so we need to ask Allah for forgiveness because only Allah can forgive us. And so this is the end of the of can't talk of Juz 9. And alhamdulillah, just remember context of war. Remember that Allah can replace you. Remember the people of the old. And those who strive in the way of Allah, Allah does favor them. Because at the end of the day, this whole thing is not going to last at all. And so we just need to make sure we keep that in mind, inshallah. And I hope that helped. Anything good is from Allah alone. Thank you so much, and I hope that helped a little bit. Assalamu alaikum.